The world was split in two. London and Paris, two cities separated by a thin channel of water but worlds apart in spirit. London hid its secrets in fog, where justice was bought and sold, and the law was a performance for men in wigs. The city pretended the chaos across the water couldn't reach its shores, but chaos seeps through every crack. Paris was a powder keg, the hunger of the poor and the arrogance of the rich sparking whispers of revolution. The aristocracy's gilded cage rattled as the people's rage grew, ready to tear down the old world. This was more than unrest, it was a human hurricane, a storm gathering to sweep away everything. The Dover mail coach creaked through the night, its passengers wrapped in suspicion, trust a fool's luxury. Armed guards watched for threats, but the real danger was the message, recalled to life. It was not hope, but a summons, dragging the past into the present, unraveling secrets and conspiracies. This was the stage survival depended on who you knew, and what you'd become. The line between hero and villain was about to vanish. In this tale of two cities, only uncertainty was certain. The law of the jungle ruled, whether dressed in silks or rags. The game was beginning, stakes set at life and death. The pieces moved in the shadows, manipulated by unseen hands. The first move had already been made, on a muddy road in the dead of night. The storm was here. Every player in this game had a ghost. Lucy Manette, the golden thread, looked like an angel but survived by her hidden strength. Raised as an orphan in London, her life was built on secrets. Her father, Dr. Manette, was not dead but a ghost, locked away for 18 years in the Bastille. Lucy's journey to Paris was not a reunion, but an exhumation of buried truths. Charles Darnay, a French tutor in London, hid his true identity, Evrémonde, a name stained with aristocratic cruelty. He renounced his title and wealth, but blood cannot be escaped. His secret was a ticking bomb in revolutionary Paris. Sidney Carton, the jackal, was Darnay's shadow, brilliant, broken, drowning his genius in wine. He saw in Darnay what he could have been, and in Lucy a reason to care. Carton's secret was not a name, but despair, and a dormant greatness. These three were bound by fate, love, and secrets that could destroy them. Dr. Manette's testimony could condemn his own son-in-law. Lucy was caught between the man she loved and the man who loved her from the shadows. Darnay, the hidden aristocrat, Carton, the wasted genius seeking redemption. Their lives formed a tangled web, with revolutionaries and spies pulling at every thread. Each secret was a weapon, and every weapon would be used. The spiders were closing in. The war of shadows had begun. No one would escape unchanged. Revolution was not a single event. It was a sound, a whisper in the wine shop of Saint Antoine. Madame Defarges' knitting needles tapped out names for the condemned, as the crowd's roar grew into a monster's hunger for vengeance. The storming of the Bastille unleashed a beast. The real prison of poverty and oppression only grew. Paris ran red, the grindstones screeching as patriots sharpened their blades. Justice was found at the guillotine, not in courtrooms. Accusation replaced trial, innocence vanished. Paranoia thickened the air, one wrong word could mean death. The Defarges wine shop became the revolution's nerve center where fates were sealed. The footsteps of doom grew louder, counting down to the final act. Charles Darnay walked into this inferno, believing his good intentions would protect him. But to the revolution, he was Evrémonde, a symbol to be destroyed. The city was a trap, and the door had slammed shut. Before Paris bled, the battle was fought with words in a London courtroom. Charles Darnay stood accused of treason, framed by spies eager to see him fall. The Old Bailey was a theater, the crowd hungry for a spectacle, not justice. Paid informants, Barsad and Cly, spun convincing lies, painting Darnay as a traitor. The evidence was damning, the gallows loomed. Then Sidney Carton intervened, a note, a glance, and the revelation of his uncanny resemblance to Darnay. Doubt crept in. Could the witness be sure it was Darnay, or was it his double? The case unraveled, not by argument but by coincidence. Darnay was acquitted, but the trial exposed the fragility of justice and the reach of spies. It forged a strange bond between Darnay and Carton, the savior who would haunt their lives. The snakes in the grass were revealed, but the real danger was just beginning. The courtroom drama ended, but the true thriller had only started. Shadows lengthened and the web tightened. The next act would be written in blood, not words. London's verdict was freedom, but Paris's would be death. The stakes had never been higher. Darnay returned to Paris and stepped into a nightmare. Arrested as an emigrant aristocrat, he was thrown into La Force prison, surrounded by ghosts of the old regime. Lucy and Dr. Manette followed, plunging into danger. Dr. Manette, once a Bastille prisoner, was now a revolutionary hero, his suffering a shield for Lucy. He became a physician at La Force, hoping to save Darnay. For 15 months they lived in terror, Darnay's fate uncertain. Lucy's daily vigil outside the prison was a silent act of love, watched by the ever-present Wood Sawyer, another spy. Every day was a gamble, every moment a risk. Dr. Manette navigated the tribunal's politics, securing a trial for Darnay. His testimony, recounting his own suffering at the Evermonds' hands, swayed the crowd. Darnay was acquitted, carried home by the same mob that might have killed him. For a moment, hope flickered, but it was a false dawn. The trap was set to spring again, deadlier than before. The revolution's appetite was not sated. The family's reprieve was only an illusion. The Maelstrom was far from over. Darnay's doom was woven by Ernest and Thérèse Defarges, keepers of a wine shop and architects of vengeance. Monsieur Defarges, torn between revolution and loyalty to Dr. Manette, still clung to a shred of humanity. Madame Defarges was the revolution's fury incarnate, her knitting a register of death, Evermond stitched deep within. Her hatred was personal, her family destroyed by the Evermond brothers, Dr. Manette imprisoned for seeking justice. Her vengeance was elemental. She wanted the Evermond line erased. As Darnay celebrated freedom, soldiers came again. He was denounced by the Defarges and unwittingly by Dr. Manette himself. The accusation came from a letter Manette wrote in the Bastille, found by Defarges and twisted into a weapon. The past had caught up, destroying the family Manette rebuilt. The second trial was a sham. The letter sealed Darnay's fate. The jury, swayed by emotion and Madame Defarges' fury, condemned him to die within 24 hours. Dr. Manette, broken by his own words, retreated into madness. Madame Defarges' web had ensnared them all. No appeal, no hope, no escape. The guillotine awaited, and the knitting woman would watch. The revolution devoured its own. The family's destruction was nearly complete. Only a miracle could save them now. The final act was set. The final hours ticked away as Darnay awaited the guillotine, resigned to his fate. He wrote farewell letters thinking only of Lucy and their child. Meanwhile, Sidney Carton stepped from the shadows, driven by purpose. He blackmailed Barsad, the English spy turned turnkey, to gain access to Darnay's cell. Carton's plan was audacious. He would use his resemblance to Darnay to save him. He drugged Darnay, switched clothes, and took his place. Darnay, unconscious, was carried out as a fainted visitor, delivered to Lucy, their child, and Dr. Manette. They fled Paris, racing against time and discovery. Carton remained behind, ready to pay the ultimate price. The escape was underway, but the cost would be blood. The revolution's jaws snapped shut. Carton's sacrifice was set in motion. The family's hope depended on one man's courage. The reckoning had come. The end was near. As the Manette-Darnay family fled, Sidney Carton waited in the prison cell, calm and resolute. He had found purpose in sacrifice, fulfilling his promise to Lucy. The tumbrils rolled through Paris, carrying Carton, posing as Darnay, toward the guillotine. Among the condemned, he comforted a frightened seamstress, his peace giving her strength. Meanwhile, Madame Defarges, bent on total vengeance, sought Lucy and her child. She found only Miss Pross, Lucy's loyal governess. In a desperate struggle, Madame Defarges was killed. Her list of vengeance ended. The tumbril reached the Place de la Révolution. The crowd roared as the blade gleamed. The seamstress went before Carton, eased by his presence. Carton ascended the scaffold, thinking not of death, but of the life he'd secured for those he loved. He saw a vision of their happiness, his memory living on in their hearts. His sacrifice was complete. The revolution claimed another victim, but this one chose his fate. Redemption was found in the shadow of the guillotine. The blade fell. Sidney Carton's life ended, but his legacy began. His sacrifice was love and redemption, a quiet triumph in an age of violence. The family he saved lived on, never forgetting him. Their son, named Sidney, grew up with the story of the man who died for them. Carton's memory became their cornerstone, a testament to the power of one life. The revolution burned out, the world moved on, but the story endured. It warns how quickly justice can turn to chaos, and how thin the line is between order and destruction. Two paths, vengeance, leading to ruin, sacrifice, leading to redemption. It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. A far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known. One life in darkness changed the world for others.